Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow, the weekly get-together from the team at In Pit Lane, the program formerly known as In Pit Lane, where we talk about all things local motorsport, including a big weekend out at Sandown. Was managed to go out, actually ended up at Sandown for all 3 days. Very emotional weekend for the Australian, for the GT World Challenge Australia, with, of course, the recent passing of Tim Miles. And congratulations to all concerned for the tribute on Sunday. We might talk about that a little bit later on in the program, but it was a really interesting weekend. Interesting reaction too, interesting crowd reaction, particularly to the Trans Ams. We might talk about that a little bit later too, because it was very, very clear that although the GT cars were supposedly very much the feature of the event, there was no doubt about it at all that it was the Trans Am cars that most of the crowd were there to see, because when the Trans Am cars disappeared, so did most of the crowd. Also, a big weekend internationally as well. Congratulations, the Belgian Grand Prix. We eventually got some racing at Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and congratulations, a fabulous win in the Belgian Grand Prix to Lando's mum. Marvellous performance. She did absolutely brilliantly there, so we'll talk about that. And to join me talking about that as well, per usual, is we've got a small crew tonight. We've got Peter Johnson joining us as well. I saw Doc came online briefly. He's trying to get online at the moment, but we'll see if he joins us in just a moment. Unfortunately, Mark Jones has got the dreaded lurgy, and still got it, and of course is not able to join us live tonight. And Richard joined us very briefly to just basically say he's almost over the dreaded lurgy, but not quite yet, and he's having an early night. So, Pete, at the moment, until Doc gets up and running, it looks like it's just you and I.
Hello, Brett. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. Let's start with. First of all, we must say our commiserations. Sad weekend up in Sydney. Darren Barlow, Supersports competitor, and that fabulous looking store. I really like that car. It's a really cool looking car, and very fast. He was leading at the time. He had a big crash down at that very fast turn one at Sydney Motorsport Park, and unfortunately lost his life there. And I know that I didn't know Darren myself, but I know from the feedback we've got from a lot of people in the New South Wales scene that he was a very, very popular competitor, and our thoughts go out to all his friends and family after his tragic loss on Saturday night at Sydney Motorsport Park. Also, somebody I did know, more or less, was a guest on the show on, I think, a couple of occasions, and we were going to try, and I won't go into the whole story, we'd been in contact fairly regularly over the past few years about getting him for a long form interview, but one thing or another got in the way, and mostly it was fairly tragic stuff involving his family, his wife, and his own health and my health and everybody's health. John Shepherd, an absolute legend of Australian motorsport, the man behind so many of Pete Gagan's legendary Australian cars, also a former boss of the Holden dealer team, and of course this weekend at the Nürburgring. John Bowe is currently over at the Nürburgring, where he will be racing the Volvo that he raced in the Australian Touring Car Championship, which of course was built, and the team was run by John Shepherd. And I know that John is over there. It's very emotional for him to get back behind the wheel of that car again, and also to be able to run it on the weekend and dedicate that run to the memory of John Shepherd. So so anyway, that's coming. We might talk a bit more about that later. But okay, Pete, let's talk about that. I think that Doc has joined us online. Doc, come in, Doc? Are you there? I hear him coughing.
I don't.
Set. Thanks for the introduction. There we are. Hey, how are you, gentlemen? Hello, audience. Hello, everyone. Yeah, wish I was like Brett behind the Iron Curtain over in Switzerland on Lake Geneva or something like that. But just here in the cold winter Victoria, as we all as we all have to. Probably get through another 4 weeks, and we'll see some better vitamin D.
Yes, that's it. It was interesting. The weather on the weekend out at Sandown was interesting. It certainly kept everybody on their toes, and as I said, we'll talk about that later. But let's start with the big one, the Belgian Grand Prix. On track, let's just stick to on track first. We had Max Verstappen winning the sprint race with a low downforce configuration that kept him in front of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Lando then managed to just nip Oscar Piastri for the fastest time to start from pole for the Grand Prix. But it didn't take too long in the very tricky conditions after a rain delay that Oscar managed to just drive around Lando and establish a commanding lead and a very comfortable lead, at least. According to the commentators, the British commentators and some others, perhaps they seemed to feel that he shouldn't have won, but he did. It was a totally dominant drive. Pete, what was your impressions of the whole thing? A great drive by Oscar, I thought.
Well, first of all, starting with the sprint race, I thought it was telling that Helmut Marko, at the end of it, went up to the pit wall and congratulated everybody. And I don't remember that ever happening. It might have happened in the early days of Christian Horner's reign, but I don't remember it ever happening. So I think that's telling. The race itself, the coverage, the last 14 laps, when in the past David Croft has defended bias against other drivers compared to the British drivers. He said, we have to look at the pictures and tell the story of the pictures. Well, the pictures we were seeing was a Mercedes and some other car, not Lando and not Oscar, and they're telling us that what the gap's doing, it's coming up and down. But I have to defend them to a certain extent, in that whenever I watch an international event that an Australian team's involved in, our commentators barrack too as well, I have to say. But Oscar was doing really what he needed to do. He was maintaining the gap, and at the last few laps, he saved his tyres and then went for it.
I actually saw another bit of British media which claimed that started the thing by saying that it wasn't Oscar didn't win the Belgian Grand Prix. It was Pirelli. It was the opening line was Pirelli costs Lando Norris Belgian Grand Prix because they made a tyre that just lasted too long. I mean, that medium tyre should not have been able to last as well as it did. And I mean, if they'd have done their job, Lando would have had taken a very, very well-deserved win because, the point was Oscar made that tyre work, Charles Leclerc made that tyre work, Max made the tyre work. Whatever happened, the fact was, once again under pressure, Lando made a number of small but significant mistakes which cost him time. The pressure certainly got to him. Oscar he was totally commanding. He made a great pass. It was a very forceful but very safe move on the opening lap. And from then on, he was totally in control. He did what he needed to do right throughout the race in order to stay in front. And he proved in the last few laps when, Lando started to get a bit closer. He just sort of, picked off a couple of, quickish laps on his old tyres just to show, no, I'm not in any trouble. Doc, did you have a look at it all? What was your impressions of it all?
Thanks, Brett. Yeah, I'd like the dialogue involving all the situations and the sideshows to the on track and off track stuff. So to compliments where they are due, well done, Lulu. He drove a really good race, probably arguably slightly better than Alex Albon. Alex was just sensational. I think he and Leclerc, both in their separate teams with potentially top of the line drivers that are world champions or potential are really showing the fight that each of the team wants and giving them some positives. So well done to those two players, including Lewis, because Lawrence, I can't remember his surname right now, was having a chat to Lewis, and it was the second chat he had to him on the weekend, and he said, you really shone through. It was a weekend that you said you wanted to forget after the sprint race because you'd had a bad P1 and qualifying at SQ and stuff like that, but you seem to have found something. And he said, my upgrade package doesn't suit me, whereas Charles it might. And with mine, I just couldn't get the brakes. He said I just couldn't adapt to new brakes or couldn't find the way. Whereas in the race, it just seemed to have clicked. So well done to him. Well done to Alex. Back what you said, Brett, about the tyres. Well, if you use the argument that Oscar shouldn't have been able to get through the mediums all the way through to the end of the race, well, then there was 5 or 6 competitors that took the chance with probably 14 laps to go and threw on those medium sets to try to extract if they were scrubbed or not stick it anymore, to get them out there and see if they could gain placings. I mean, I think Kimi Antonelli got the fastest lap of the race during that period when he threw a set on. But so you could use the argument that, okay, the mediums weren't supposed to last that long, but all the drivers did, as you said, Brad. However, you could say, well, Pirelli didn't do their job as well, though, too, because the hard should have been better, and that should have enabled Lando to catch Oscar, even though he made his mistakes and they lost a second or bit in the pit stop with the throw on the front right. So you can use so many different arguments either way, whatever it may be, twist the data yourself to say, well, this is how it should. But I think also should also be noted the interview between Jos Verstappen and Nico was fantastic, and that's been well documented on social medias. I think Nico really didn't mind pulling any punches and showed Jos's hand.
I like Nico. Nico has decided, I have no fucks to give anymore.
Yep.
I really don't care. I don't need this job. It's not. I'm out here having fun and I'm talking to my friends, and it's like when those Martin Brundle saying on the start, like, oh, you can't talk to him now. You can't. No, we're not allowed to talk. And he just sort of walked through and he went up to Nico Hulkenberg. We're not allowed to talk to when the music's. It's like, no, I don't care. Whatever. And he got. Yeah, he was very sharp and very spot on.
He wanted to talk to Gunter, but apparently the first grid interview that Martin ever did was with Ozzy Osbourne, who swore, and there was an inquiry the BBC or ITV, and so Martin said, "Oh no, I don't want to talk to Gunter because the last time someone swore on television, I got in trouble and there was an inquiry, and I can't be bothered." But Nico really wanted to talk to him.
Anyway, the other big one as well, too, was to a certain extent hilarious. I watched the post-race show. I can't remember how long it went with Laura and Palmer and
it goes for hours.
It goes for about 45 minutes. It's not that long, but sometimes it gives you a little bit of.
When it's 2:00 in the morning.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I watch it the next day when I've got time during normal hours because I've got a lot to do with football or something. So they had Alex Jakes on. Alex is as a F1 commentator is a little bit more. He's more balanced than some of the older ones now because I think he realises the entertainment value and he wants obviously Lofty's job down the track. So no big deal there. Palmer can be here and there. I love his intellect and I love because he's obviously an ex-Formula 1 driver back in 2017 was the last time he was on the grid. I think he raced about 35 times in a F1 car. So, however, Mr. Alex Brundle, I have never been able to really, he just grates on you. What I give him 110% credit for in the post-race show, as much as all the backlash and all the carry-on, the bias and that, he went to town and said, no, Oscar's the best. Oscar deserved it. He raced it. It was a classic move. He actually completely told the story how it should be. Alex did. I wonder where this came from because it's not like he's flipped or anything like that, but he just absolutely went, right, this is where it is. This is where it's at. And well done to Oscar.
It's interesting you should say that because I was going to bring this up. I was watching a podcast that has zero to do with motorsport. It is not got nothing to do with sport at all. It's a totally different, totally different area of interest that I have, and it's an American podcast. But they like like a lot of Americans, the host in particular has suddenly discovered Formula One as a result of Netflix, and has sort of got into it. And one of his guests on the show also mentioned that he was now interested in Formula One because of the movie. He went to see the movie and said, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to actually watching Formula One now because I never knew anything about it, but it looks so exciting. And there's a race on this weekend." And the host of the program, who I said is not a not a motorsport person and is an American, said, "Oh, if you really want to get into it, make sure you subscribe to F1.TV. It's worth paying the extra. You can watch it on ESPN, but they get the British Sky F1 coverage, which," and he said, "which for my feelings, I don't know too much about it, but I think seems to be very, very biased against, towards the British drivers." So this is somebody who doesn't really, follow Formula One in any huge way or anything like that, but already he has decided after sort of watching about half a dozen races that he just went, "No, I'd rather." Now the interesting thing was the F1 TV coverage. Alex Brundle is basically fills in for his father's role with Jake's. So they're the commentators there, and apparently, and that's the thing because they're doing what is known to be the world English language feed. Whereas for some reason, people take the Sky TV coverage. And the thing is, if they're going to, I don't mind the fact if they're just broadcasting to England, to the UK, that's fine. They can be as biased as they want. I mean, it used to annoy me when you had the Australian coverage over here, and you had Alan Jones and Darrell Eastlake, or Darrell Eastlake talking about Alan Jones every 5 seconds, regardless of where he was. But he's in 17th place, whatever it was. But this, it's supposed to be, if they're going to take the Sky TV, the Sky F1 coverage, I think they need to say to them, guys, this is not just for your English viewers. This is a global coverage, and you've got to stop the cheerleading just a little bit because I normally haven't worried about it, but this weekend or this race, it was annoying the hell out of me to the point it was just saying, God, can I get another feed somewhere to listen to this, because there was no doubt that they were sitting there and they were willing him on. Yes, I mean, great, you want to see a good race and all the rest of it, but it was just, the inevitability of it. Oh, yes, he'll just cruise up onto the back of Oscar, and Oscar's tyres will go off, and Lando will cruise to yet another dominant win, and, he'll be within two. At the end of the race, we'll go into Hungary with only 2 points between them. Isn't this exciting? 2 points, and no, that was not the case, and it was never going to be the case unless Oscar made a mistake. He didn't. Lando made the mistakes. So,
well, there was 2 interviews relating to one very big topic that you just were talking about then. One interview, which I thought would give us a lot, which gave us absolutely nothing. He just danced around for about 15 minutes, was Laurent Mekies. I thought that was disappointing. They were interviewing him for about 15 minutes and just gave us nothing. I thought he'd just maybe say what I'm doing with the team, or what's that?
He was being a manager.
No, he wasn't being a manager. He just gave us. He has a choice when he's on TV with Laura Winter and Palmer and Jakes or whatever it may be. He can say, "All right, I've got into the team and we want to do this," and he can be really positive and bloody, or he can, and say, "This is where we're at," and talk about Max a little bit. He did talk about Yuki a fair bit and that sort of stuff, but they asked him a direct question. All he did was dance around 15 minutes. He just gave nothing. Whereas sometimes if you come into a team, you're full of life.
That's what a new manager does.
No, they
Our
don't.
police,
I've been in management for 30 years. Some of them come in
our police
and give
commissioner
give
did that
lots.
this week.
Well, he
Just
just
gave motherhood statements.
yeah, he
Yeah.
danced. That's
That's
what I
what they
said. He
do.
danced around for 15 minutes. Whereas he could have done something and took a different approach to it, and he didn't. He gave us nothing, which was disappointing. That's why I said from the start, he danced and gave us nothing. Anyway, I just said what he could have done instead. The other interview was at the back of the trucks with Zach Brown afterwards as well too, and he gave us some honest insight. He said, "Okay, where were you at with the tyres?" He said, well, we didn't know where they were going to go, how long they were going to last. I asked him, when you put the hard tyre, or when obviously he said, one side of the team said, let's put the hard tyre on Lando. Was it a premeditated? Was it pre-planned? Was it a delta? Was it a plan B? And he said, no, it was actually more of a spur of the moment thing. We tried, Oscar was on this one. We had to try and make that work. So with Lando, to try and do something different because we were dominant, both cars were just going to kill everyone. So we thought we'd try something different with Lando to give him the chance, because if he had have gone exactly the same as Oscar, he wouldn't have got it back, whereas the hard option might have brought him back to it. So Zach was very open. He said, no, we didn't premeditate.
Yeah,
We let them do what they want to do.
McLaren did the right thing. McLaren didn't do anything wrong. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, to put, if you've got two cars and they're running, put them on slightly different strategies, and then you've got both bases covered. If Oscar's tyres had have gone off, then you've got Lando who would have come through. That was, but so it was. There was nothing. There was nothing that McLaren did wrong. There was nothing. Lando made relatively minor mistakes, but they were mistakes anyway. So he didn't do anything wrong. And after the race, he did put his hand up and say, "Hey, look, Oscar was just a better driver this weekend. I put my hand up. He was. He went past me. It was a great move. I was hoping that I'd get back. I was hoping his tyres would go off. They didn't. He made them last. He was totally in control. He won. More credit to him, etc., etc." But I just thought that comment, and I don't like criticising commentators, but and I've spoken to we've interviewed Crofty before I've interviewed Crofty before on the show. I haven't interviewed Martin Brundle. I've met him a couple of times in a semi-social environment. He's a lovely guy. He's very straightforward and very down to earth. And he knows a lot. I think he's very, very good. But I just think that sometimes the director has got to have a bit of or the executive producer's got to have a bit of a whisper in the IFB and just saying, remember guys, this is going out. This is a world feed. Let's put the red, white, and
we've got an
blue
audience. Let's
away.
not lose them all. We've got this great
And
worldwide audience. Let's just not segregate them.
And Martin Brundle has actually said that before. He's actually said, I know we've got a global audience, and in the past when Oscar has done well, Martin Brundle has actually said, we've actually got a global audience, and on air he's actually said it and said, hang on, we need to acknowledge Oscar.
He's usually very, very good. Yeah, I think the problem is Crofty is a lot more sort of gung ho about it all, and he just needs to be perhaps calmed down a little bit and and made to because he's unapologetic. The thing is, he's unapologetic about it. When anybody talks to him about it, he basically says, "Hey, look, I'm British. I work for a British company. It's most of our audience are British. I know the guys. I know the teams. I'm very proud to be British, to be English, and I'm going. Yes, I try to be fair, but if one of our guys is looking like a win, when I'm obviously going to get a bit excited about it, and that's fine." If you're doing the British coverage, but they're not. The thing is, it's become the de facto world feed. I would rather that we did have either a dedicated world feed, or and that's not going to happen in this environment, but the broadcasters in each individual country provided their own broadcast team. I mean, it would have been a different thing if we'd have had sort of Richard Craill and Neil Crompton or Alan Jones or somebody, and sitting in a studio down in South Melbourne, calling it from the television, which is basically the way they do most calls nowadays. I mean, Fox do most of their football calls from South Melbourne nowadays, regardless. I mean, even if it's just at the MCG or Marvel, they're still calling it from there. So it's no big deal if they're going to do it that way, but that will cost them extra money, of course.
At the risk of sounding like one of those three guys whining on podcasts or the YouTube videos for an hour,
that's what we're here for. That's our job.
I'm going to finish my sentence too. I'm going to give 10 more seconds, and I'm going to make 2 quick points, which is, one, well done to Bortoletto and Lawson, well punching above their weights, both inside the top 10. The last one is, because I don't want to talk about it anymore because I'm absolutely sick to death of it. We've already wasted 27 minutes and 37 seconds, which we could have done in 10, which is, God forbid a convict wins the championship.
Well, it's happened before, and yeah, I mean, but it's obviously the story that everybody's been interested in for there. But a fabulous, I just thought a fabulous performance by Oscar, and I think it really just shows that he is, I think he's always thought he's a class above. At the moment, he seems to be a class above Lando in his particularly his attitude. I mean, everyone's saying he's just so relaxed, and he's confident, he's professional. He's apparently a real. I've been catching up with John Bowe, as I mentioned, is over at the Nürburgring, but he went via the British Grand Prix, and Mark Webber managed to get him into the McLaren garages where he spent some time and met up with Oscar Layton. And John was saying what a really down to earth, lovely guy he was. He was just typical young kid from Melbourne. Hasn't gone to his head or anything. Was
British or Belgium? You just said British. You mean Belgium, don't you?
Belgium, yeah, Belgium, yeah. Yeah. So but anyway, so he's over there, and as I said, John will be racing this weekend in the Nürburgring Old Timers event, which of course is on YouTube both Saturday and Sunday. We'll put a link up on the In Pit Lane website, and we'll embed it there so you can have a look at that where he's driving, because it's a great. If you love your touring cars, like the Peter Auto stuff that we saw like on the weekend from I think it was Imola and Le Mans Classic. If you love it, that's very much sports cars and open wheelers. The Old Timers event has all that stuff, but they are really big on the touring cars. So if you love your DTM, Group A, all of those sorts of Group 5 and Group 2, all of those sort of categories from the past, Zack Speed Capris and Porsche 935s, BMW Turbos, all of that sort of stuff, you'll see that on the weekend, including the Group A cars, Sierras and Nissans, all the rest of that running at the Nürburgring with John Bowe in the John Shepherd built Volvo. So good luck to
Wagon, wasn't it?
There. No, that was the British touring car. That was the British touring car championship.
Just version. Having some fun.
So let's have a look at say hello to a few people who are.
Yeah, I was reading through the comments then when you're rattling off, because there's some very strong opinions in the comments too.
So we'll get there. Well, this is a strong opinion from Paul Vandenacker. Evening all, g'day Paul, how are you? Good to see you. Mad Cow Mark joining us once again. Great to see you again. Box, one of the regulars on the program. As we said, Mark Jones still watching on. Still too sick to talk. That's fine. That's what Donald Trump is saying at the moment about Jeffrey Epstein.
He's also saying it about a couple of other countries too.
Yeah, so yeah, Mad Cow, I'm sick of hearing how Lando should have won. I think that's very true. David Howard, good day to David as well. Also to Jimmy K63, good day to you as well. So let's have a look. Formula, Mark just saying Formula 1 coverage was always very favourable towards Jenson Button's ability to care for his tyres, and that's clearly something that Oscar does as well, and it's obviously it's a really important skill to have. It's one of the things that one of the reasons we've been talking about Shane van Gisbergen on the street. His ability to save turn was quite legendary over here. Box saying years ago before Formula 1 took over each Formula, even the national telecasters would concentrate on their own drive. Yeah, they were. The Italian coverage was terrible. Monaco was even worse.
And we were too.
I can't.
We were too.
I
yeah,
can't
we were
lean.
too, yeah.
I can't lean down your elbow and laugh or give the guys thumbs up and fades because we've got these little section where we've got a headspace at the moment. We haven't got the full shot of us at the moment, so I can't even get to see the beautiful Bruff Superior motorbike behind me tonight either as well too.
That's it. We'll pop that up in just a moment if we talk a bit about that. Yeah, Mark's saying loved how Nico was a bit of a mess. Yeah, they were
Pest.
pest on the there. Very much
Good.
very much.
He's
Jared
allowed to be. He's a world
Yeah.
champion.
So
during
Jared's
the-
saying something interesting. Oscar should look at team switch under the new regulations. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'd like to stay at the moment. I think I'd definitely like to be staying at McLaren at the moment because he was saying like Audi and GM. Interesting. Once again, Nico Rosberg very direct and straightforward to Valtteri Bottas, and it's interesting. Valtteri has pretty much admitted.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, can't hear you. He's all but admitted now that he's certainly if he hasn't signed on the dotted line, he's certainly got the contract at home, and he's just waiting to find a pen somewhere. So yeah, I think
I'm no Sam Collins, but I'm sure I'd love to have a chat with him. He's always across all this. But there's a lot of whispers, and look, who was it? Palmer was saying, I said I wouldn't talk about F1 anymore, and here I am doing. I'm sucking myself in. Palmer's saying he's surprised that there's still like about 8 upgrades from all the teams. So I'm getting on the technical side. I'm not really talking about Formula One now. The whispers are though is that I don't know. That could certainly change, or obviously the Chook Lotto raffle will run around the different way. That Mercedes is well ahead of the game on the new regulations for cars next year than some of the other teams.
They've been saying that for a while.
Yeah, so they must be putting the hard yards in.
Yeah, well, it'll obviously be interesting. The other thing that's come out of it is so far from what they've picked up from the sim runs that they've done with pretty much all of the drivers who have been behind the wheel say they don't like the new cars at all.
They say that every time.
So yeah, it'll be.
The issue is the harvesting. I think the hybrid.
You just remind me. Thanks, Pete. The other thing was the Zach Brown interview, which was well after the race, and as I said, in between the trucks at the back, was because, and this is the bias bit. I'm like Brett. It was just a little bit too out of hand, and we usually don't comment on it this much. Was that Lando had his battery problems? It had something that was why he was down when he went at the race from the start, from the whatever laps it was after the safety car. You know what Zach said behind the trucks afterwards? They both had exactly the same problem, and then there was no difference between the two of them.
The commentators were saying that the other drivers would be having the same issues because apparently, I don't understand it fully, but apparently the difference between a wet and a dry race, they've been running dry setups all weekend, but the battery has a brain, if you like, and it retrains itself. It was going on the dry settings when to harvest. So they're all having.
Yeah, I think it was under when they've got plenty of traction and they're under hard braking. There's a certain amount of energy recovered and goes back into the battery. Whereas if it's on if you've got wet conditions, you've obviously got longer braking, but it's not as hard braking, and it's not so it's got to basically recalibrate itself to realise when it should be recharging.
Like an ECU, you mean? Not
so when
like
it shouldn't. So when it does that, and it obviously gets better, and obviously because they didn't have sort of they weren't putting in the energy during the warm up laps because the track was obviously very wet, so none of them had the battery power that they really wanted. I think what SB is saying as well too, you can just see, imagine if Lee Diffie was lead world commentator and talked about Piastri all day. The Bob's a shit a chicken.
At least Lee goes over to America and he's impartial. He doesn't.
Well, the interesting thing is, like a lot of I get a lot of feedback from America from people saying, particularly NASCAR now that he's involved in that, saying, who the hell is this Australian? Why is he there? And why does he keep talking about this Van Gisbergen person? Lee's
been there for decades.
Not for NASCAR. This is his first year with NASCAR.
Oh yeah, but I mean, he left Channel 10 decades ago for America for commentating.
Oh yeah, look, he's done very well, but IndyCar has a very different audience. It's a far more international field. It's a far more international crew, and the fact that it's a British or an Australian or any other nationality doesn't worry them at all. NASCAR, boy, as American as Donald Trump, and you better not forget about that. So,
You say Donald Duck?
Yeah, well, him too.
We should get on
is more real.
We should get on to Laguna Seca. That was really good. I watched that over the weekend too.
Yeah, I didn't catch up with that. I don't have Stan. I haven't. They've sent me the news cut, and I haven't had time to look at it as well. But another one to Palou.
You can jump on that streaming service that they're talking about banning with the other social media ones. That's under review at the moment by the government. I haven't got an opinion. I don't want to have an opinion on that it's called. It starts with Y, and they did all of P1. It wasn't just highlights. They just basically did the highlight. They did P2 as well, and there was a fantastic. As you always say, Brett, they provide great VNRs. The highlights package was just so comprehensive. You didn't even need to watch the whole race. It was pretty much it.
They are doing both NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA are all very much jumping on the YouTube bandwagon now because they realise that like the exposure it's giving them in terms of they're getting the races are up much quicker. I mean NASCAR are really quick with their extended highlights. IndyCar are pretty good. IMSA, of course, is live. All of their races and all their qualifying sessions are live with John Hindhoff and the team from Radio Show Limited. They're on every single race on YouTube. So it's really easy to keep up with that sort of stuff if you want to.
Well, if we don't really cover if this is all we cover it for, let's just say if there was 3 ANZs in the top 10 at the finish. It's a great result for the three fellas. Good stuff.
Yeah, they managed to come back. There's certainly because of course two of the Anzacs are running for Penske at the moment, and Penske are having since all of their legality problems, they're not, and the people they've got rid of, they're not having the best of years at the moment.
They were still top 10 at the Dicko and the other two. So, yeah, I thought they were quite... I actually really liked Dicko's livery over the weekend. It was like a blend through the car. It wasn't just like a DHL like Palau or a Ward. Dicko's was really good on the weekend. I liked that. I was watching him running fourth at one stage. And well done, Will. Will had a challenging weekend at the start of even P1. He was nowhere to be seen and just dragged it back in all weekend. So well fought out, Mr. Power.
Yep. So anyway, let's. Trans Am was on as well. Bad luck to Jack in the Toyota Camry. Had a really nightmare weekend. Actually qualified second with no practice at all because of problems with the electrics of the car. Ran out there, qualified second, and would have been a real chance to win that race, and then had more mechanical problems. So yeah, very bad luck for Jack going all the way over there and not getting many laps in. But once again, showing that he's a very capable driver, and it's good to see that he's getting those rides in the Trans Am, and hopefully there'll be more of them. Speaking of which, down to Sandown on the weekend, the SRO, the GT Festival. 3 days of appalling weather it was, but then that's traditional. The July meet at Sandown is traditionally awful. Always in the state round, it was always the hot dog round, but even back to the days of the 2+4 and all the rest, it was always the coldest.
In Belgium.
Yeah, it's a terrible.
Oh, it's always red wine weather at Sandown this time of year.
So we So anyway, but they had it was a reasonable crowd. I mean, under the circumstances, it was they certainly didn't have the whole of the grandstand open, but the 3 bays they did have open were comfortably full, especially when the rain was coming down. So that was good. The GT races on the weekend, we saw a very emotional win to Jackson Evans on the Saturday with the Ferrari. Very good friend and colleague of the late Tim Miles, and he said before he started he was going to be out there racing in his memory, and he wanted to get a win for Tim, and he did that, and he was very, very emotional. It was all over. He was obviously, I didn't know Tim. We mentioned on the show, I didn't know him. I'd had nothing to do with him, so I hadn't interviewed him. I didn't really know him at all. But everybody said what a terrific guy he was. It was very evident at Sandown how much he was missed. Every team, the tribute they paid to him before the second race on Sunday when Brendan Leith took his car, the Audi R8, out for as they said, let's not have a minute of silence, let's have a minute of noise. And it was, he went out and he did at least tried to do some burnouts. I mean, the conditions and the traction control made it a little bit. Might have made things a little bit difficult, but he got in a few burnouts here and there, and everybody was very emotional out there that the loss of Tim. So, yeah, congratulations to everybody at SRO for what they did on the weekend. It was very classy display. So we had the Ferrari winning on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, Liam Talbot proved yet again what a really good driver he is in terms of being a so-called AM driver. He did a really good job, and he was paired up with young Aston Martin driver, 19-year-old Jamie Day. Now, I've interviewed Jamie Day, caught up with him on the Friday, and we'll put that up on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel as soon as I get some time to actually edit the thing. But it was interesting to get his feedback about Sandown and about the state of sports car racing, his thoughts and his ambitions for the future, particularly in regard to a thing called the Valkyrie. Very, very, very keen to sort of get his hands on one of those at some stage. But he slowly but surely improved over the weekend. But as he said, a very, very radically different track to the sort of ones that he was used to in Europe. But he came to grips with it and eventually did a really good job. GT4, huge fields, massive fields, and it was an all Mustang weekend. We had Ryland Gray and Andrew Madecki winning the Saturday race. Then Sunday, a terrific drive.
Quickly, Andrew said he's going to lose Ryland soon by the sound of things too.
Yeah, I think so. I think they probably, there's a few of the supercar guys are being pulled away to concentrate on the supercars and all the rest. And I think Ryland is sort of they're looking at him as a top competitor, and he's going to be driving there more regularly. So so he will lose him. But once again, George did a terrific job. Particularly in the wet, he was stunning in the early stages on Saturday. He just was in a class of his own in the wet compared with everybody else, and also. On the Sunday, Jake Camilleri, we've spoken about Jake and his Herculean performances in that little Mazda in production cars. Well, he's traded up a little bit in terms of speed and performance. Ran the new Mustang GT4 on the weekend and won that race. And also congratulations, great performance on the weekend to Nash Morris and Zoe Clark. They did an amazing. They were really good over the weekend as well. Formula GT4 was just a spectacular field. Lots and lots of cars. More cars coming are on the way. Somebody from GT4 was saying that they said this round next year we could have 40 cars, trying to get onto that grid. So that would be insane. Same with the Trans Ams.
Just on that, quick shout out. I'm looking at the feed. Aaron SB says Aaron Love showed what he was very capable of, and also slightly off topic, but still on the same concept. Callum Peterson, his first round, the Rosin Racing cars as well, though, too. Just to top off. I also noticed, Brett, I don't know if you can add to it for me or not, there was a couple of announcements over the weekend. One that's for everyone. It was in the middle of the broadcast, I'm not sure on what day, They've released a calendar for next year, which is fantastic. And Sandown is at the end of the year next year. It'll be finishing off the SRO GT Festival down there across Australia. And also, I think Hidden Valley was one of the ones that were in it. The other one was too, just on the Trans Am 2 stuff. I did see a post, I think it might have been one of the mainstream ones, that we're going to see a pairing up of a Bargwanna and the Richards in a Trans Am coming up soon too.
Well, they could be too, because they're talking about Steve and Jason actually driving together, and then you've got, and it was interesting. I actually took a shot of it on the weekend of where they were lined up, because we had in the Trans Am tent, you had lined up in a row Grice, Richards, Bargwanna. So you had sort of three second generation
Chickadee Commodore sitting in the middle of them.
Yeah, so you had those three cars. I was talking to Steve about Clay. Didn't catch up with Clay, but did catch up with Steve. Talked about Goodwood, of course, but also talked about.
You did you? I remember. I said you had to do that for us. What did he say?
Oh, I mean, he loved it. I mean, obviously he loved it, and we talked about that. But the thing with going to the Trans Am was, as he said, the Super 2 thing was obviously the next step for him after the Toyotas. And as he said the money involved was just sort of so far out of their league that there was just really no realistic chance of it happening. And the thing about Trans Am is, this came up. This is affordable. It was basically a crew. It looked like a crew of three, and two of those were Clay and Steve and a mate sort of thing. So the cars don't require huge resources to run. They're very reliable. They're very strong if you do crash them. Clay had a bit of an off I think on the Friday or early on Saturday, but his car was covered in mud and a few sort of bent and broken panels. But apart from that, they were up and running for the next race, and he improved over the course of the weekend. Really big field, and the interesting thing is, as I said, the crowd that was there. There was a huge crowd when the Trans Ams were out. What part of the grandstand was open was absolutely packed. As soon as the Trans Am finished, they were gone. It was like Carlton fans leaving a Collingwood match against Collingwood.
All right. That's what he wanted. The reaction. I was going to finish tonight on a football note, but I'll still do it. But you've got the fire burning early.
Pete?
Interesting, because I was watching Saturday. I didn't watch Sunday because a certain football team was playing on Sunday. But I watched on Saturday, and I wondered why the grandstand was virtually empty. Because I turned it on when the SRO was about to start, and the grandstand was virtually empty.
Yeah, they had. Well, as I said, they only had the first, like the first three. If you're going from the pit entrance, they only had the first three bays open, like they pretty much do for the state series. But it was pretty crowded. There was certainly I had to park. There was no media car park, and I was parked right down towards the train line. On Saturday, I think there was probably even a slightly bigger crowd on Saturday than there was on the Sunday. The one thing they do really well is and I've got footage out there, is the grid walk, and congratulations to the crowd as well, because pretty much the whole crowd, they just opened up there and said, hey, if you want to come down onto the grid, come on down. You didn't have to get tickets. You didn't have to get any. They just opened and said, come on down and wander around on the grid where all the cars, they let the cars come in. And then they said, okay, you can jump. Everybody wandered down, talked to the drivers, got photos, selfies, and all the rest of it. They did. And then they said, okay, guys, they blew the whistle and said, okay, everybody back to the, no problems. Brilliant. Everybody cleared back. It had a really good vibe. They did it for the GT4s in the morning. Yep. They did it for the GT3s in the afternoon. In both cases, they did a great job. And as I said, there was there was a bit of a delay because of the weather, but also because of the tribute to Tim Miles, which, as I said, was and once again very interesting. The interesting comment from people in terms of the Trans Am though was I was in the paddock wandering around, and I heard some people. There was quite a group of people in front of me, and then I heard one woman turn around and say, "Oh, we've got to get back to the stands." And I said, "What?" He said, "The supercars are coming on." "Oh, okay." And everybody went. There was the trans because they look like the supercars to the uninitiated. They look like the supercars. They sound better than the supercars. Then okay, they're nowhere. They're
And
not as
there's a bit
fast,
more,
but they
and and the
put on great
racing's
racing.
yeah, the racing can be a little bit more entertaining than
Racing's
supercars sometimes.
racing was really
Sometimes.
entertaining, and as they said, if they get at Bathurst this year, when they put the Trans Am and the
Oh
CO2
no.
series together,
Oh.
they're going to have 60 cars.
Yeah, and it's going to be carnage and fun, and everyone's going to be raving about it. And Pete's just dropped out on us now, but
Oh,
yes, that's all right. We'll keep it going. Anything else? I was going to say that did caught your eye on the weekend. What else was on? I don't think there was many. There was a little bit of Winton on as well too. We won't go too much, I suppose, in the Sydney Motorsport Park stuff because that was cancelled, unfortunately, for the reasons that you have down in the ticker down the bottom there. So that was sad news. So there wasn't really much that come out of that. But Winton I heard was pretty good as well though too. I didn't get into that much and cover as much. I don't know if you did, Brett.
by the way, because you mentioned interstate, and I was talking about the unfortunate incident on Saturday with the motorsport chaplain there, which wasn't Mark. Mark Bateman.
Good friend Mark. Lovely bloke.
Yeah, and our thoughts go out to Mark. He missed the Sandown on the weekend apparently because he and how many times have like typical bloke? I mean, how many times have we all done this? Got a bit of a splinter in his finger somewhere along the way, and went, yeah, don't worry about it, she'll be right. And of course, it's become infected, and he's got. He was feeling pretty crook, so his South Australian counterpart came over to fill in for him, and he came up and said hello because he'd watched the show over the years. So we chatted, and he let us know that Mark was feeling a bit down, so that's why he missed
first
out.
name for our South Australian?
Look, you know me with names. I mean, he was.
Okay, sorry, I just wondered. Yeah, sorry,
passed to somebody.
Passed a flagon. Passed a flagon.
Passed a flag. Yeah, passed a parcel or whatever.
Passed a flagon. I'll have a drink of that. Thank you. Right. Very good. We're all done. I was just going to finish on a little bit of footy stuff if we are.
Well, we could go on that. I think that as I said, coming up on the weekend, yes, there is. As we said, Nürburgring old timers, but also the Winton Festival of Speed is happening this week as well, and it's going to be broadcast as well. Now, it's not Blendline TV; it's another group, and it's I'm not sure exactly where it's being, whether it's going to be on YouTube or whether it's on their own platform. They've got their own platform, which and it's as far as I know, it's not a pay for play. I think that you just got to go to there, and so I'm sure there'll be links on Facebook.
Follow a link.
Just be very, very careful, incidentally, with links. Of course, when you got live stream, and if you see anybody say, "Hey, like we just in order to, for marketing purposes, we just need you to give us your credit card number. We won't charge you or anything."
No.
Do not.
Just watch this, and at the same time, we'll get you my Gov account number. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So so watch that in the way. But yeah, they've got a really good turn. Yeah, we've got Hungary on as well.
MotoGP's on holidays.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the final two categories having starts after 5 p.m. racing in the dark. Yeah, Roy, if you want to have a look at some sports cars in the dark, Roy was out there on on Friday, and I left early. I got there because I wasn't filming much. I wasn't allowed to film on the track. So I left a bit early and went off to do some other stuff. Yeah, Roy sent through some footage, and he's got some footage on his YouTube channel and Facebook page of it. It really does look like Le Mans around Sandown because it was bloody dark by the time the cars got out for their last session.
I
So the
was very
curfew didn't
jealous
apply
because
then.
I was sorry. Go, Pete.
So the curfew didn't apply then, like it
Well,
normally
yes, it
does.
did. Well, it did but it's 5:30, and of course, at the moment, it's getting dark at about sort of quarter to, like 10 to 5 or something. I mean, I came out. I went to the, did some shopping, and then I called in at the gym afterwards, and I came out at about sort of, at about 5:15, and it was pitch black. So, and they were apparently still running around at the time. So,
Well, I was
yeah, it looked
earlier in the day
great.
when you were there. I was officiating over at Halbury, which is down at the Keysborough and Springvale Road campus, and I was so jealous because when I wasn't whistling, I was officiating. When I wasn't whistling or like that, I was standing in the dead end of the circumstances. All I could hear was cars behind me up the road, and I could. It was very aggravating as well, though, too. But also on Sunday, I was officiating over at Rob Porter Reserve down here on the Princess Highway, and I had I was appointed to a game for some under 16s in mid-afternoon, and the appointment with me was a fellow senior umpire I've umpired with for about 10 years named Joey. It was fantastic, and he doesn't. I can't remember who he backs for, but we finished up the match later in the afternoon, and we had to do a match report and award the votes, and got the phone out and doing that. And I said, "Oh, we'll just have a look at the footy scores." And I looked at it and said, "St Kilda and Melbourne. Oh, Melbourne's in front by over 40 points. Oh, that's a tip no one's going to get because 3/4 of the nation, all these millions of people that do tips have got." Anyway, so got home. We got showered upon in the last quarter, so a bit wet. Got home and I threw all the washing into the machine and started that up and started getting a feed, which because you miss lunch when you're doing all these junior games sometimes on Sundays. And thought I'll just check the score to see what it finished up with. What the fuck? What? No, that's a mistake. That's seriously. This can't be right.
I can give you a better one because at about sort of around the half-time point of that, I just got home because I left early and I came and I watched the Trans Am race from home rather than because I'd run out of battery with the camera, and there was nothing more really I could shoot. So I came home to watch the Trans Am race on the on the television at home. And about half time during the match, I got a phone call from somebody who rang up and said, "Oh, I thought I'd call you up for a chat because I'm watching he's mad St Kilda supporter." And he went, "No point watching the bloody. We're getting absolutely so no point watching this. I might as well ring you up and have a chat with you." And we got to the end of the thing. I said, "Oh, we can go back and see how much they got beaten by now." "Oh, what's the point?" It was total. I turned on the television and one of the greatest comebacks of it, and he missed a lot of it because he was
greatest. So
he was sitting there talking to me.
It's a VFL AFL record for a 3/4 time deficit to come back and win a game. Forget about motorsport for about 5 minutes of your life. Jump on and have a watch the 5-minute package for the last 2 minutes of the game. Even with 1 minute to go, even with 1 minute of that coverage of those with the actual timer for the game left, you will not think St Kilda's got any chance of winning it still. It has to be the most monumental stuff up of all time. Plus, they have to be completely on song for it to win. And the funniest part as well, though, too, is, okay, it's rather than the immediate reaction of what was going on for the game, watch Ross the boss's reactions right from the start, because he is just like, whoa! He's like, going off like, he's just, this is, he doesn't even think they're going to win as well too. But his reactions are the old Mastercard priceless. So yeah, watch the last 2 minutes, which is a 5-minute
Yeah,
package.
it's a good pack. It's a
brilliant.
good package. I ended up watching it. I turned it on. I normally don't watch anything, but I thought I've got to see what happened, and it all came down really to one guy in the end who just was just had a
Messiah
gold.
Wanganeen Miller is absolute superstar. And they've been saying it all year. Yep.
What a final few kicks he had. It's worth watching if you're even remotely interested in footy. I mean, and that's about me.
The mark he took to kick the goal that equalled it was a screamer over the back of two people alone. So, and then it's crazy. As I said, with even 1 minute or less to go, still don't think they're going to win it. Good on you, Mad Cow. It was, mate. You can put that one down the record books. It was brilliant.
Yeah, that would be. The atmosphere there would have been pretty. But the problem was, I mean, it would have been like anything where your team's getting a flogging. It's like, I'm going home, and it's, what's the point of hanging around for this? So, most of the supporters got it. It was like, many years ago, I tell the story of Melissa and I leaving Winton early because during a touring car round when we were actually supposed to be reporting it she was supposed to be reporting it for Auto Action, and we left early because it was just a really boring race. We went, we'll beat the traffic out, we'll get there. And then I think it was in the last few, somebody came from about 8th position and came through and won on the last corner or something, and it was like everybody's going, "Oh, what an amazing race! You must have been so excited." And we're going, yeah, it was great, wasn't it? Who was it again? By the time we got the phone calls, we were in a pub down in Seymour.
It's just it's the biggest piece of red gum on the fire pit you missed.
Yeah, but anyway, okay. Look, have a good week. Plenty of stuff to watch on the weekend. Winton, Nürburgring, Bowie. If you're watching, good luck, and it'll be an emotional drive of the Volvo.
Yeah, he's done enough photos himself. He's pretty much a Japanese tourist at the moment. The way he's going around with the cannon.
Yeah, he's having a ball. He's discovered particularly Tuscany. Knowing his love of food, I could imagine that he would be very, very fond of Tuscany. I can He's
pulling a few strings to get everywhere over there at the moment. He's dropping a few.
He's done well. Yeah, good on Mark Webber as well for arranging, because I don't think that was arranged beforehand. I think it was literally like a meet up of like what are you doing here sort of thing. And Mark's pulled some strings to get him into the McLaren thing. He also caught up with, interesting, he's got a selfie. He's got all these selfies with Formula One stars and with Zach Brown, with one of the selfies is with Kim Illman.
Saw that one. He's bloody yeah. Well, Kimmy's got something to brag about. I think he hit 500,000 likes on his Facebook.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Over the weekend popular. As well, though, too, Kimmy.
By the way, thank you to Mad Cow Mark for reminding us as well. Yes, plenty of drag racing happening on the net. There's usually something. They had the VW Bug Fest or whatever they call it from Santa Pod on the weekend. They had some great outlaw nitro stuff coming from the IHRA. That was live, and I caught up with that. This week, if you're in Melbourne, be quick. If you're in Melbourne and the weather is halfway decent, get out Calder Park. This Sunday, starting at midday, gates open at 11 o'clock. The latest Sunday fun day, drag racing from midday until 2:30, and then we transition into roll racing for the afternoon. Roll racing gets a massive turnout, big crowds, big fields, and some amazingly quick cars. Last time around there, we had a GTR. John Ricker turned up in a GTR and was so fast they actually had to tell him, look, could you just slow it down a little bit? It's just a little bit quick for
turn the PSI down the turbo for us, please.
Yeah, but I don't know whether that'll be back as well. The series leader at the moment is Jordy Stevanovic, who's with the pink Lamborghini. I understand he might not be here for this round as well, so yes. Anyway, that's coming up this weekend. this Sunday out at Calder Park. And as following up what you just mentioned last week, Doc, about Heathcote Park, yeah, I've got some further updates on that as well, sort of confirming some of the things you said from somebody else who lives, probably one of your neighbours or someone from up there who came up to me at Sandown and said, this is what's going on. We can't say anything because until everything's signed, but yes, it looks like that in the short term, it certainly looks like the Heathcote Park as a drag racing venue is going to be fairly secure and hopefully even improved. Oh yes, Paul pointing out the overpass at Calder Park Drive was open. That was a good bit of marketing there. The first two cars to go over it were a NASCAR and an Oscar. So well done to Rowan Harmon and Rodney and the team from Calder Park for getting that to happen. That's I saw those photos and that was really good. So head out there on the weekend, support Calder Park. Look, just get out there. It's not much to get in. If you've got nothing else to do, it's a nice short day. Get out there. And by the way, something different this time around. I'm actually coming out of the. They've been playing with some technology there, and I'm going to be coming out of the commentary box, going to be down on the start line, doing the commentary from the start line. So I'll be talking to a lot of drivers. Lots of chats out there, and hopefully we'll have some giveaways as well. So get out there Sunday, Calder Park, if you're in Melbourne. Should be a really fun day. Okay, everybody, we'll see you. We'll catch up with you next week. Until then, from the three of us and from those missing in action, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later. Bye for now, everyone.